Hello, how are you? I hope that you're well. I found this book at the library and I decided that I wanted to do a collaboration with basically somebody that has inspired me tremendously. Not only was Bob Ross so smart and so creative, but what I love most about him, it just appears as though he is the most genuinely kind, like caring, compassionate people. I just think that's really cool, and I love that he is so celebrated and that he is kind of a genre of YouTube video. This is my contribution. I hope that it inspires you. If you want to collaborate with Bob Ross, you do it. You should tag me. I want to see. Yeah? Alright.
We are beginning with a beautiful blue background and some misty pink clouds. You know, that's what I really love a lot about Bob Ross is that he just begins all of his pieces in such with such broad strokes, which is of course what you're supposed to do it, but it just is like a tiny miracle watching him turn some really abstract just blobs of color into a fairly detailed landscape piece in 30 minutes. How inspiring is that? Like, incredibly intimidating, but he makes it look so easy too. Okay, speaking of making things look easy, I began my painting process. If you noticed, I just kind of started off drawing the mountains with just a regular like pen tool. And I got a little bit in and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I really need to find a good textured brush and just have a one stroke masterpiece. Now, that didn't really happen for me, especially in the beginning. I was really uptight when I started this, not in my body, but like with the idea of what I was doing. I was really just trying to pretend as though Bob painted this for me with the specific intention that we collaborate. So, of course, I was really uptight painting this mountain because I was trying to be Bob Ross. I was pretending as though I was not digitally painting, but that this was oil. And so I was like really paying attention to canvas texture and stuff. But the thing is if that is what I really wanted to do, then I really should have just taken a photograph of this painting and really started from there. Here comes our first happy little tree. However, that's not something I ever considered doing. I always wanted to paint in this style, in his style. So yes, it's a collaboration, but I am collaborating with myself. This is going to sound corny, but I feel like Bob Ross was in my head. I had him in the forefront of my mind while I was doing it because I didn't go find this episode that I probably could have, but that would have been a feat. So I didn't do that, but I have seen pretty much every Joy of Painting. And so I kind of know how he does it. Like, I've never personally painted water before, even though I think I am going to now because I had lots of fun. But if you noticed, as soon as I got that mountain done, I was stoked to do the reflection because I just kind of wanted to see if it would translate digitally in the same kind of way. And it really did. If anything, though, I feel like because I just cloned it and flipped it, it almost was too mirror-like. Some lakes are really clear and like are a freaking mirror, but I don't know. That seems a rarer experience. And I did try to take a dry brush. It was actually kind of fun because that's exactly what Bob Ross does. Is that once he paints his reflection, he takes a dry brush to it and just pulls the paint down a bit to make it appear more like a reflection. And I did do that. I did it most recently with those trees in the lower right-hand corner. You might have just noticed me doing it. But I didn't like it quite as much. It wasn't as impactful as when he does it. Which I probably could have said about pretty much the majority of this painting experience. Because that's even what I was talking about at the very beginning. His genius is the simplification of his process. But that is coming from somebody who pretty much overcompensates in all of their work. Simplification is such a gorgeous and mind boggling skill to have. For me, if you can, in 2 strokes, communicate the item that you were trying to paint in 2 friggin' strokes, that is genius. And the part of the painting that I always find most difficult to do whenever I'm painting in a Bob Ross style, because I have done it a few times, never digitally, usually just with acrylics, which was really not the same. Every time that I try to paint like Bob Ross, I feel like the background is always the easiest part because you can really simplify things when they're far away. And even in the foreground of all of his pieces, it's kind of an indeterminate amount of space away. Like, who's to say? Trees can be really, really ginormous. So even though these things are closer to us, they still are kind of far away, but how far away is that? Like, if I can see the tiny little branches of all of those little bushes, then you're kind of close. Unless, of course, they're trees in which they're far, far away. You see what I mean? Without scale, like without like a human or an animal or anything, it's really difficult to see just exactly how close you are to the things that you're painting in the foreground, which really is a bit of a confusing thing to think about when it comes to fine details. And I think that that's why for me, this Bob Ross portion of the painting, that lower left bank was really my least favorite. It's the least successful, and I also enjoyed painting it the least. And I think it's just because I never quite settled on how far away it was. So I was a little unhappy that it looked kind of fuzzy. It still does look a little fuzzy, but I don't know. Whenever I come up on my contribution to this work, which is coming up here in a second, I feel like it does distract from really any one aspect of the painting. So that's good. And here we go. I am just putting some finishing touches on the water, trying to make it look a little green, giving some like little foam to like each bank, putting so they look more like they're in the water. And here are my cherub babies. So this is an original work of mine, a felt piece that I did several years ago, and I haven't really done anything with these little cherubs since, but I really like them a lot. So that's why I went ahead and just traced them into this piece. I don't know, that doesn't really feel like much of a cheat because it is my original work. So I don't know. I'm sure people are going to feel odd about that. And I think the reason why I'm like explaining it right now is because I'm scared that people will think I'm a cheater. But, like, I think art is a process, and kind of whatever process you use to make something, as long as you're not ripping anybody off, I don't know. I feel like it's all legit. Yeah. And I'm not even going to say that's just me because obviously it's just me. I'm the one that's talking. Yeah. So here I am with my little cherub babies, just painting away, trying to give them a 3 dimensionality with some shadows and highlights and fine details, while also trying to be like painterly about it. So giving it like a mock canvas feel to try to be cohesive. Here we go. I'm starting to work on the wings, which, you know, in retrospect, I probably should have spent a little bit more time on the wings. I just wasn't that interested in them, to be completely honest. It's kind of is just happenstance that cherubs have wings for me. Yeah. So I just kind of obligatory wings. As I'm looking at this painting, I could really see how you might interpret them as fairies, which is certainly fair. This place is magical. I think magical and holy are kind of, two sides of the same coin. That's getting me into some sticky subject matter as well. I'd love to hear your take on it, though, if you have a strong opinion. I like questions of spirituality. And here I go, overcompensating as usual, trying to put some glitter on my fairy wings to make them better. I don't know. The original piece had glitter, so. And now it's time for that rainbow, the ever present rainbow, as well as some finishing touches, a vignette, and a shadow on the reflection, and
this, and give you.
So here it is. What do we think? The final product. Do you like it more? Do you like it less? I think that's entirely fair. I hope that you got something out of this. Remember to subscribe and like, or not,